Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before we get into it with our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Jessica Coleman on the podcast. She's coming to us all the way from Virginia to share her health and fitness journey with us and, just talk all things health and fitness. But most importantly, she's our current guest. Jessica, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Well, I ask this question every single time, no matter how many times people are like, oh, it gets boring after a while. What is the weather like today?
Okay, so today it's probably 85 degrees, sunny. Actually, it's a little overcast right now.
It's like 50 degrees here right now, so it's
Honestly,
well, hey, I do have a thing though. Once it gets above 70 degrees, like it's not that fun for me because like look at this pure white Norwegian skin basically, where it's like I'm gonna get burnt just even looking out my window basically. So it's overcast is actually fine for me. This might actually be a day that I go out for a walk after that. Before I depress everyone with just my weather woes, why don't you give us your backstory first off on what inspired and motivated you to become a bodybuilder and how that led to where you're at right now?
so it's interesting. When I was growing up, I was always an athlete when I was younger, and you know, I started lifting weights to condition for sports when I was in high school, and started seeing muscle and fitness magazines. At the time, it was all magazines, right? Because this was back in the day, kind of. Because you're way too young to probably remember magazines, but we had them, and I would always look through the magazines, and I would see Monica Brandt, and I'm like, that is what I want to do with my life. And so when I kept training and doing my sports and everything, but when I went to college, actually started training in the gym. I didn't have a coach at the time. I had just gotten started, but I started taking gymnastics in college so that I could do all of the fitness routines. Then I blew out my knee playing volleyball, and then life happened. Adulting, kids, family, career, and I just kind of throughout my adult life, first of all, I let go of the dream. And then second of all, I was just in and out of shape my whole adult life. And here's the thing about me. Like I basically forgot all about the stuff that I wanted to be when I grew up. And I grew up. So when I was approaching 40, my big birthday, I got back into really great shape, and I said to myself, what have I always said I wanted to do that I never did? And so when I turned 40, I got my first tattoo first. And then I hired a coach and decided I was going to train for fitness competitions. And I did my first figure competition at 40 years old. And I have two teenage daughters now. And so, kind of how that worked for me was I really, once my girls got old enough to be at home by themselves, that is when I finally had time because I'm a single mom too. So once I could actually have the freedom to leave them at home for a little while I went to the gym, that's when things really opened up for me time-wise. So that's kind of probably also why I waited until my 40s.
What was their reaction when you announced them like, "Hey, I want to try bodybuilding now"?
So at the time, when I first started, I don't think they really understood. But as it's been, I'm 44 now, so I've been doing this for 4 years, and my girls have gotten older and watched me do this and kind of the process and everything. And you know, they're very proud of me. And one of my main goals is I want my girls to see like that as a woman, you can be strong, independent, have a career, and still go for your goals, regardless of your circumstances if you work for it. So my oldest is 17, and she got into the gym with me about a year and a half ago, and she was my workout partner. And now she does her own thing. She's in the gym every single day. My 13-year-old now is going to start going to the gym with me, and I just couldn't be more happy with that.
That is awesome. Yeah, just having that support too, and I've always said for the younger generation, yeah, the younger that they get started. I mean, there's been studies that have shown like it's so much easier for them to adapt or continue a healthy and fit lifestyle if they get it at a younger age. So that's great that you're doing that with them. But when you were getting into the sport, I mean, there are so many myths about this sport that I deal with all the time, constantly. Was there anything that you were concerned about before you got into the sport, or was it one of those things where you just want to dive right in and see what happens?
Well, for me, at my age, like I feel like why not? Like just give it a shot. And I really I didn't really care about all those myths, because I was gonna make my own path, and I was gonna make my own, my way, and not really I didn't really worry about all that stuff. I think some of the things that I have picked up along the way is, um, people my own age and other parents, other mothers, I don't know that everyone, um, appreciates it as much as I thought they would. I feel like women my age are liking all of the young women that are doing it and feel like that's appropriate, but maybe it's not for a mother who is in her 40s. And I really thought that that was going to be a different reaction because I wanted to really inspire other women and mothers my age because I want mothers to know that just because they're moms, they don't have to give up everything that makes them happy. You fill everybody else's cup, somebody has to fill your own, and that should be you. But it's wild because I find that a lot of young guys, high school age, are fascinated with the bodybuilding, and me as like a person that they look up to and respect, and then a lot of older people that are like older than me, and they really admire it. So it's really cool. It's interesting who I thought that it would impact versus who it actually does.
Oh yeah, like every teenage guy at one point in their life goes through like a mini bodybuilding phase, basically, where they're just like, okay, I just want to get like as jacked as possible. Almost every guy goes. I mean, I went in through it. A lot of my friends did. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I found that to be the truth too. Where like some people are like, oh, she's a mom and she does this, like why? And it's like, well, so, like, yeah, I've heard that too, where it's like, yeah, like the young 20-year-olds are like, oh my God, that's so great. I've heard that literally verbatim. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, I've had like 70-year-olds on this podcast. So I was like, I wonder what they think about that then. So it's
Exactly.
just, yeah, it is. I mean, and it's like, this is one of those sports where as you get older, you get better and better. It's not like baseball or football or something like that, where as you get older, you don't get as productive. It's like, it's a sport that as you get more experience in it, it just gets better and better. But I
And I
also,
will say this: thank God for muscle maturity. Thank
yes.
God. It's definitely a bonus.
Absolutely, and that's why I've always said if I ever have like a 20-year-old on the podcast and they're like super like, and I was like, okay, that's super impressive too. But I mean, one thing that I also have talked about is genetics because I hear this all the time. Oh my God, I want his arms, I want her abs, I want their back. Just want to strangle those people because it's like you do not understand that you can work out just as hard as someone, you can eat just like them. You're just not going to see the same results. Everyone's built differently, unfortunately. But whenever someone first gets started working out, they always have that one body part that really, really takes off that they don't have to train as much. And then they have that one body part that just drags behind that they have to train to oblivion. What was one body part for you that really took off and one body part that just you've had to drag behind?
So it's funny because this sport, absolutely, the genetics are really a key factor, and symmetry and how everything fills out when you work out. I think that for me, I was just born with great quads and calves, quads and calves. And so guys come up to me all the time, especially men, and they're like, "Oh my God, you need to take me through a leg workout. What do you do?" And I'm like, "I work them out. Like I do legs 3 days a week." And they're like, "Oh no, I hate doing legs." I'm like, "Okay, well be happy with what you have because if you're not willing to work for it, genetically, I have been blessed with I'm quad dominant and I've got calves through my genetics. I have to work on the glutes and the hamstrings a lot more, but I also work at that to build them and to make them more conditioned. It's not just like I wake up like this or whatever. I wasn't really born this way. But it's so funny too. Like I think I was going to talk about another myth about bodybuilding that came to mind, and I think I just forgot what it was.
Oh, no worries. I was this close to kicking her off the podcast too because I'm 6'3", so my legs and my lower body are just absolutely shot. Where I mean, I literally have made the joke on here 100 times that I could inject pure muscle into my legs, and they're not going to change. Calves, I could do 10,000 calf raises a day, and it's just so yeah. So you're one of those people that I see in the gym all the time, where it's like you can tell that they have nice calves, and I mean, like you said, you work for them, but most of those people I talk to, it's like, what are calves? They just basically ask, and I'm just like, okay, you know what? Screw you, basically. So that is ridiculous. But to make me feel better, what was one body part that you struggled with? Just to bring my mood up a little bit.
Back.
Okay.
So in this sport, they say you win shows from the back, and um, you know, Sure. You really like my back and my lats, I've had to work really hard to try to get that V taper. My waist is not naturally tiny and it doesn't go in, so I have to work to build that up. And I've been working really hard to get it bigger. But that's definitely something that I'm just like, come on, baby lads, let's grow, let's grow. So
That makes me feel bad because the back was the one thing that really took off for me. But that's, I mean, I was working jobs in warehouses where you either got a really nice back or you quit loading trucks. So that was, I think, what really made it for me. So, hey, it makes me
maybe I
feel a
should
little bit
try
better now.
that.
That's what I told people. I was like, hey, UPS, you never know. You never know. I mean, good God, I left there now, but I think like the last time I heard a posting, it's like they're paying people like $28 an hour now, basically like that to load trucks. And it's like, hey, sign me up for that still. One of the things that I also just love to talk about too is that how much of a mental sport this is, and it's not talked about as much as it should be. Is that like people are going to notice your physical changes? They'll say, "Oh my God, Jessica, you look amazing," but they won't notice that mental transformation that has happened as well, which is 100 times more important than any physical change. What has this journey been like for you mentally?
So this sport is so it really is a test of discipline and will. And it's interesting. After my first couple of shows, every single time I'd finish a prep, I would tell everyone, "This is it. I'm done. I'm retiring." And then they're like, "Jess, are you in prep again?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "I thought you were done." But what happens is, getting tighter and getting back into shape, it feels good, but you're still eating and you're still doing carbs and your cardio hasn't gone up so much. You're still feeling good. All around physically. But then towards the end, look, once you get closer to a show, about a month out, it can be really brutal. And so, gosh, a month before I won my pro card, I legit said, "I'm done. I'm walking away from bodybuilding. I'm going to drop the mic and walk away." And then, a friend of mine, two friends of mine actually, Chris Barnes, he's an IFBB pro. He told me, he talked me out of it. Said, basically gave me a pep talk. And then my other friend, Callie Travers, both bodybuilders, talked me into, just keeping on going. And I kept going. And, it takes a support system. It takes an incredible amount of determination and will and competitiveness. Like you really have to have that fire. And that's something that you can't teach. I do feel like that is something that you just have or you don't. You have to have that passion. And, you know, another thing too is from the mental aspect, a lot of this for me is like mental health, like therapy. It's my therapy. So like if I've had a stressful day at work or, whatever, I have to go to the gym and work through that. That is how I get the crazy out. And that's part of it too. So that's the flip side of it. Like it's also very, very healthy for me from that aspect.
Well, you talked about, like those last few days of prep. Do your daughters know now to just basically like leave mom alone for like the last month of prep or something like that? Just like give her
Absolutely.
her space, just leave her, stay in your room or something like that. Because yeah, that is one thing that I found too. It's like, yeah, as positive as some of my guests can be, it's like you get them a month out of the show and we'll see how positive they really are then because like, yeah, people just don't understand the whole prep side of things. Like your brain is just, it can be so fried.
Definitely. My girls have learned because in the past couple years, I've done a handful of shows and just in the past year and a half or whatever. Um, and it's funny because they really do know to get out of my way and they're very forgiving. So I'll be like, "I'm sorry that I was snippy. I'm sorry." Because I mean, so the flip side of having a daughter that is very into bodybuilding and eating healthy is also having to share my meal prep food and my food scale. And so if I need to eat, like I'm eating 6 times a day and I have to go in and it's real easy for me just to grab my shredded chicken or whatever and I'll go in and it'll be gone. And I'm like I'll freak out and then I have to apologize. Be like, "I'm so sorry. I love you, honey." And she's like, "I know, mom, I got it." But they're ready for me to take a little bit of a break and enjoy the summer.
Yeah, they can finally come out of their rooms and stuff like that once the show's over
Exactly.
and be like, it's over now for now at least. But no, that's why I've always said the support systems of these athletes that I have on are the unsung heroes of this entire podcast and this sport really because yeah, like they deal with all the stuff. But I mean, like you mentioned nutrition too, and there's just I could do a whole 10-hour podcast on the nutrition of bodybuilding because it's just so vast. But what were some of the bigger nutritional changes that you made when you really started to take this lifestyle seriously?
So getting used to eating the same thing every day, basically. I mean, it switches up a little bit, but ultimately you're eating the same thing. You have to really condition yourself to know that you're fueling your body, and you have to find ways to enjoy that food. And so I've come up with all kinds of alternate ways to make things, and I'll go through phases where I switch it up and flavor things differently, make pancakes out of everything. Um, but lots of water, lots of supplements, giving up the sweets. I think the biggest change for me, and one of my biggest hurdles throughout the years is being really good during the week and then like totally letting go on the weekends. And when I rein it in and just if I'm good on the weekends and I can make it through that 7 days and then start my week again, that really is what is like the secret sauce. If you can continue through the weekends as well. So it really has to become something that you don't that is just your lifestyle, you know, making it a habit.
I'm not gonna lie, I came back home last night at like midnight from my girlfriend's house, and I did have like I had all this extra cheese bread from the pizza that I ordered before, and I did, have a lot of it. So, I do the weekends, yeah, that's the one where I can kind of let myself go, but then when you weigh yourself, I'm like, hey, I gained
Yeah.
2 pounds this weekend. Now I gotta lose it back. This is the whole so yeah, it's just yeah, that's a never ending struggle, for me as well. But like, how do you force yourself to eat as much as a bodybuilder? Because like people don't understand too, bodybuilders they eat, like you said, you're eating 6 times a day.
Yeah.
There are times where you probably, are just like, "Oh my god, I'm so full." How do you force yourself basically to gulp down all that food?
So it's interesting. Rarely do I find myself so full that I don't want to eat again. So basically I enjoy eating that often, and I know that it's working and it's fueling my body. I feel like I get hungry a lot. And I am just coming off of a long prep. So maybe that's where I'm at right now. But sometimes I don't feel like eating the healthy food. And would rather not eat it. Like, I would rather not have tilapia again for, like, the 100th time in a row, like, at the end of prep. I'd rather just, like, not eat anything and go hungry. So that's where it's hard. When I have to force myself to eat because my body needs that protein. Yeah, so
What is your go-to cheat meal?
It's so funny. I was never a cheeseburger french fries girl until this past prep. And now that's what I want. I want Five Guys cheeseburger, huge fries, go for it. Bacon cheeseburger. But I'll take any old cheeseburger. I will go like I like the gourmet fancy ones, you name it. But cheeseburgers, and then I'm also a sweets girl, so I like to have sweets. It's just that's a reckless combination, but that's me.
So this is a joke that my family still gives me crap about to this day whenever we're all together. So when I was like, let's say like 8 or 9 years old, we went to a restaurant. I don't like cheeseburgers. I like hamburgers, but on the menu they only had cheeseburgers. So I told the waitress, I'll have a cheeseburger without the cheese. And they still give me crap to this day. So, but yeah, I Five Guys don't even get me started on that. That's my weekly cheat meal where it's usually about every Saturday, so I might actually have it, when I'm done talking to you, I go and get my burger,
I
but
actually think I want that now myself.
oh my god, yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's just the only thing like they give you way too many damn fries though. That's the only problem that I have with it. It's like come on, like I'm a fry guy too, but it's like when they give you like a whole bag's worth, like the whole like actual bag in there, it's like, yeah, we'll just put like 10 scoops in there for you and it's like you just
See,
want
I don't mind that.
yeah.
Like, I welcome that. I actually see, here's the thing. When they like throw the extra fries and they spill out in the bag, I'm like, oh, well, that's still my serving. So I can just keep on eating. And then, if I don't like the crunchy ones, so I don't feel bad about like putting those aside and just eating the squishy fries. I'm not mad at them at all.
Oh, I mean, the most I've ever almost gotten sick from eating is that I had 2 double hamburgers of Five Guys, like the big ones, and driving home, I was like, "Okay, this is gonna be an interesting because it was only like a 10-minute drive home, and I was like, "Okay, we're gonna see if I can make it home now." So, but like, it's yeah, they put so much into it. That's the thing for me is that like I have so much on my burger that like literally by the time I'm done with that, like any fries that are left over, they're in my fridge for like a week almost, and I'm just like having them every once in a while and just putting them in the microwave, and then just like, oh, I guess it's something. So but well, you got to, because it's so dang expensive too. Five Guys is way. I'm sorry, it's way
You don't
too
want to waste
expensive.
it.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not wasting any money on that whole Five Guys. But before I because you're making me drool right now, even talking about all that stuff, basically. So
Me too.
before I just go crazy thinking about that, I mean,
Talk about food.
oh my god, yeah. And I mean, before I go crazy with that, the number one thing that I would never guess in a million years is the hardest thing for so many of these competitors is posing. But after talking to them all the time, I mean, I hear, it's a lot for a lot of these guests. It's harder than your nutrition. It's harder than the working out. What is your experience with posing been like?
Oh gosh. So it doesn't come naturally to me. Figure posing, I was always working on it. The back pose, for some reason, and probably because my back was not, super developed. But the back pose was just so hard for me to get. Um, and it takes so much time and energy and work and effort to do the heavy lifting and just the sport itself, but the posing's a whole different ballgame. And so, here's a little twist in my experience. So I was hardcore figure, never thought I would do anything other than figure. And then I was like, okay, I need to build up my back, to be better at figure. And the next thing I knew, my coach was like, you are perfect for women's physique. And I finally gave in. And interestingly enough, women's physique posing came more naturally to me. So I was able to transition into a different division this past year within the past prep, actually. And Samantha Jaring, she's an IFBB pro figure. She's about to do her next pro show. And she's been in the Olympia. She's my posing coach, and she's figure, but she can literally pose every single division flawlessly, and it comes naturally to her. But she's been able to work with me and help me to get my posing to a place that it looked great on stage. But yeah, posing's so tough. Um, yeah,
I mean, like everyone's used. I mean, it's like posing for physique just comes natural to like a lot of people, just because everyone growing up has done like their bodybuilder poses just for fun and stuff like that. But like, I've never got like with figure and bikini. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's just different. Like it's to go like that and to do your quarter turns. It's just like, yeah, it's hard, but yeah, I mean, so I'm glad that you found
imagine doing all that in heels.
that too. That too.
Yeah.
I would be what, like 6'7" in those heels too. So good
Oh,
God,
that's true.
that's
Those would be really big heels.
I talked to, so the one lady that's like the tallest competitor that's ever competed in figure. She lives like 2 towns down from me, and she was like my second guest that I ever had in this podcast for bodybuilding. She's 6'2" without those, so she was like 6'6" in those heels. So like, yeah, that's just a disaster waiting to happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, those heels too. I was like, God, don't they put you guys through enough already, and then you gotta make you wear heels and stuff like that? So yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But out of your
I got to toss my heels aside
thank God.
recently, and I've got to say, I love it. I love not having to wear them anymore.
And out of your physique poses that you do, what is your favorite and what is your least favorite?
It's so funny. Like when I first started doing side chest, my girlfriend Sydney Van Horn out of Richmond, we go to we work out at RVA Iron together, and she was like, "Oh my God, your side chest is amazing. It is so hot. I love it." And I'm like, "Really? I feel like it looks like manly or something." And like, it is my favorite pose, side chest, like from the very start. Um, I don't know. It just that one came the most natural to me. Um, my least favorite, gosh, I've got to say. Kind of like all of the women's physique poses, but what I would like to see more of when I do my abs and thighs, I would like to see more abs. Like I go and I blow out my hair, and I mean it looks nice, but I just want to see like the little blocks more. Probably that one.
Well, and yeah, I've always said abs and thighs, like it's so hard to make that look natural. I mean, that's the most unnatural pose out of all the ones that
Yeah,
they have you do. So, but yeah, you are only the fourth guest out of all the guests I've had on that said side chest is their favorite pose. Normally, I just get it's either front double or back double or anything in between. So hey, we got new things on. I'm making a poll of like all everyone's favorite poses. So now I just had 3 little check marks by side chest. So now I get to add one more, everyone. So hey,
awesome.
it's a little victory here and there. But abs and thighs, 90% of the people, that's their least favorite. So yeah, they gotta find a way to, just change that up. But how long was it for you to get that conditioning down? Because people do not understand that the human body is not meant to be flexed in a state like that for that that amount of time. And like
Right.
some of these posing sessions, they're harder than workouts are, and you're sweating more. So how long did it take for you to sort of develop that conditioning that you need to be able to compete?
I think, for me, once I kind of got to a place last year, conditioning wise, um, I did 3 shows last year and I like gradually got better each time. And then I did a 12-week prep, hardcore prep with my now coach, Sebastian Alvarez. He, he really he's known for his conditioning. And so what people don't understand is how much cardio goes into the conditioning for this sport. It's hard to say. It's taken me every bit of 4 years to build up to this physique. Um, and I've made a lot of progress in the past year since I started working with Sebastian.
Absolutely. And I mean, when you were walking on that stage after going through a prep and just basically putting your heart and soul into it, what is that moment like for you when you finally get to walk up on stage and show off all that hard work that you've put into it?
It's changed over time. Before it was like, gosh, I hope I do okay. Gosh, I hope I don't mess up my posing. The This last show, so I did 2 shows, April and then May back to back. The first one was just to get me acclimated with women's physique on stage. Wasn't nervous at all for that, but that also wasn't like the end goal. And then I go down to Charleston for my first national show, and I wasn't nervous. I was just ready because I had worked so hard and I couldn't have done any better. So I go down there totally focused and in my zone, and I never got nervous. And that's the one thing that I was so surprised about is that, like, how not nervous I was. I was just like, I feel like I evolved as an athlete. And then I was going down to compete for my first national show, and I had nothing to lose. So, I think that my mindset just changed. And when I went up on stage against these amazing athletes, there was a lot of competition down there. Beautiful women, very fit, conditioned, super nice girls, women, and we were just having fun. Once you get there, like all the work is done. So we just went out there and had fun, and you know, it was a great experience for me.
And what was that moment like for you when they announced your name and you realized, "Oh my god, I'm a pro now?"
So the interesting part is, what the way they did it during the show was that the open class winners won their pro cards. And when I went up for my open class, like they kept calling me to scoot to the middle, and I'm like, okay, and I do my thing, and I go and I pose, and they were like, okay, ladies, thank you. And I looked down, and I was in the box, and I'm like, oh my god. And I go to my coach, and I was like, did I just finish dead center? And he was like, Jess, you just won your pro card. And I'm like, and he's like, "Okay, so you can't eat or drink anything between now and finals." So I was like legit just trying to like chill and make it through until finals. And when we went up for finals, I was just again like not banking on the win, not banking on the pro card, just like this isn't over yet. So, with that attitude, I went on stage, I did my finals performance, and I went out and I got the overall. And honestly, I was so dehydrated when I went to go cry, like, no tears would come out, but, like, I literally was just in that moment, all of my hard work had paid off, and the realization of what had just happened, like, I don't know, it doesn't really hit you, but it kinda hits you, and you just I don't know. Yeah, make ugly cry
And
faces.
everyone's like, "This woman's a pure sociopath. She can't even form tears when she's crying and stuff like that." So,
What
but
is she trying to
yeah,
do right now?
yeah,
Look at her face.
yeah. Well, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Was there just a little part of you when your coach said you couldn't eat or drink anything? It's like, should I really just give this pro card thing a try? Because that's another reason why I wouldn't compete. Because I'd be the guy who's like, yeah, about that.
So I think for other shows, um, that little voice in my head might have come in, but not this one. This one I knew, like, this was the show, and I just I wasn't gonna do anything to risk, jeopardize it, and, it worked out.
Again, I have about 50 reasons why I've never competed. That's one of them too, because I would just be that person who's like, "Yeah, about that. I already have my food ordered on the side, so, I'm gonna go have." So,
Well, and, here's the thing too, is a lot of people leave, prejudging and they go have burgers
yep,
for lunch, and then they come back for finals looking all full and everything, and I was like, "Really? Like, I don't get anything?" I got a muffin, like, about an hour before I went back on stage, and that was heaven, but I didn't have anything to drink it down with.
yep. And I mean, this is another thing that I love to talk about is, post-show blues, because so many people do not understand that, like, you're not gonna be able to look like this 365 days out of the year, unfortunately. And, so many people just a lot of times they see bodybuilders in just their average day to day, when they're in the off season. And I'm gonna be honest, some of them even come up to me and they're like, "Do these people even compete? Like, what's going on here?" and stuff like that. And I was like, "Well, they're not gonna look like they look on stage all the time." But how did you deal with that when you first learned that, like, hey, I can work my butt off and I'm not gonna be able to maintain this look? And has it gotten easier for you to accept that as your career in the sport has gone on?
It's definitely gotten easier, so after I did the Jay Cutler last August, and it the after show blues hit me really hard, because I was going to do my first national show after that one, but after doing 3 shows last year, I was done. My body just was like it was like, "Stop." So, I ended up waiting on the pro show, and I got the blues then because I feel like I fell short, and, I did rebound hard. Like, I at that show, I rebounded hard, and I was a little depressed, but this time, I'm so satisfied. Like, I feel so amazing that I was able to accomplish what I just accomplished at my age. I mean, I'm 34 years old. This it blows my mind that, like, I can become a professional athlete at my age, and it's just really a really cool, unique experience to me. So I haven't gotten the blues at all. Like, I've gained 10 pounds. I don't look like I thought my summer body was going to be ready. I'm not really, loving it, but I also am just like totally chill with it, not stressing it at all because, you know, I get to enjoy the summer with my girls for the first time in a long time, along with the holidays. I've been working so hard and really sacrificing a lot. So now I'm going to just enjoy that time, have an off season. We're going to take about 8 months of an improvement season and do my pro debut early next year. I'm really excited about it. And again, there's just nothing to lose. Like, my career is not in fitness. Fitness isn't my profession. This is like my passion, my love. And so there's just nothing to lose. At this point from here, like the pro card, I never thought could happen. And it happened. So now from here on out, it's just bonus points.
And now we got to talk about time management, because I mean, like, you're a mom, you're a bodybuilder, you also have a regular job. Two of those three things are enough to drive a person crazy. So how do you balance having all three of those? Because that's the most impressive thing to me about this whole lifestyle is the bodybuilders, that, like, how they're able to not go crazy with all the stuff that they probably have to do in their lives.
Nobody understands, like, people are like, "You are insane." So here's how I make it work. I'm at the gym 2 to 3 times a day. Towards the end of my prep, it's 3 times if I need to, like, make up cardio during my lunch break, but I will get up early, in the morning and do my fasted cardio, and then I'll come home, eat breakfast, get to work. See my girls go off to school. I work from home, so that really, really helps, a lot, and then, if I need to take a lunch break and go, do some more cardio, I'll do that. But then I lift after work. And then if I need to finish up some cardio later, but that's really how my day lines up. And then on the weekends, I just kind of move through whatever we have going on. Like, it was real tricky this last prep because my daughters both play travel sports. And so thank God for my mom. She was with my youngest daughter for her soccer tournaments, but I would take my oldest daughter traveling around for the weekends for volleyball tournaments. And I was taking big cooler bags full of all my prep meals, everything I needed, and literally lugging it around on these trips. And I get Airbnbs with kitchens and fridges and stuff. And that's how, I would basically do my prep on the road. And I would go to gyms, work out while I'm, in between volleyball games and things like that. So really I get creative and I just make sure I get the work done. Otherwise, you know, there is no normal, like, routine. People are like, I can't believe you're doing cardio again so soon after your first cardio. And I'm like, well, this is the only time I can get it in. So
I was just picturing you like everyone knows that one mom that had brings like the lemons to the game, but you're bringing like things of chicken breasts and you're just giving them to the kids like in between the volleyball
yeah,
matches and stuff like
no,
that.
I'm
Like,
not giving away my food. Those kids aren't getting my chicken.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's the death sentence if you want to try to get it in front of a bodybuilder's
Don't
food.
touch
Yeah,
my food. No.
so wait, do you ever bring like grills and stuff like that for you? Like, how do you like? Do you just dry grill them, or how do you like do that when you're on the road all the time?
I cook all my food before I go,
Oh,
and
okay.
then I will actually weigh and measure it and, set it aside, and if I'm lucky, I can heat it up at on like, in this on the stove or in a microwave, but I'll eat it cold if I have to. I mean, just to get it in. It's really, not always gourmet delicious.
At least you're not like the one guy in my gym in college where he would start his workout by plugging in his George Foreman grill and then he would put chicken on it. And then by the time he's done with his workout, the chicken would be done. So then he'd just have it in the gym in front of everyone. And I was like, okay, whatever floats your boat, I guess. But hey, again, with time management, I don't judge anyone on what they do with their time management because just to be able to do, like I said, two of those three things, I would probably go crazy. But I mean, let's also be honest too. Like, you're not the average looking 44-year-old woman. You've talked base about this a little bit, but I mean, like when you walk out in public, especially if you're like dressed the way you are right now, you are gonna draw people's attention just because it's not something that a lot of people see normally. I compare it to being like a mini celebrity where it's just like, oh wow, that's interesting, and you draw a little bit more attention. But what has that been like for you? Has it gotten easier for you to sort of deal with the fact that like, hey, I'm gonna draw more people's attention, or is it still one of those things where you're just like, okay, this is kind of weird?
So it's interesting because I think the hardest part for me to get used to is when I don't feel like I'm super in shape, like I feel fluffy or I'm, not getting ready for a show and people stop me and talk to me about, my muscles, my physique, things like that. That's when it surprises me. I don't mind it at all. Usually if somebody says something to you, it's flattering and it's in within good taste. Um, so yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. And a lot of folks, like I said, if people don't like it or whatever, nobody says anything to me. No one says anything to the big girl. I mean, come on.
That's true.
You
I
know,
mean,
plus I might have resting bitch face every so often. So
that's true. I mean, and plus, especially when you're deep down in your prep and stuff like that, you got your sunken in face and everything like that. People are just like, okay, let's just leave her be. We don't want to awaken anything that's like in there because yeah, I mean it's true. I mean, like we've heard. I mean, luckily it has been getting better, as the years have gone on, and I think social media has played a part in it. But yeah, like I've had some guests on who, I mean, it was so funny because I had a guest on who they started competing in 1995, and I was 1 year old when that was happening. So it's like to talk to someone that like literally when you were still a baby started competing
yeah.
and you're just like, okay, what's that been like? But I mean, you talked about it briefly too. I mean, cardio, I hate it more than life itself. And when I say cardio, I mean actual running. I go on walks all the time. I got to get my 10,000 steps in a day, but like luckily I live right next to a nature park too, so I just go there all the time. But I mean, what is your relationship like with cardio? Because unfortunately, when you become a bodybuilder, you sign a deal with the devil when it comes to cardio.
Okay, so I made a pact with myself. I don't remember when, but I said if I'm going to continue this bodybuilding stuff, I'm gonna make sure I like it, all of it, the process, the journey, the cardio, the food. If I'm not having fun, it's not worth it. So what I do is I just freaking kill it. I go and kill it. I go and do my cardio like I am in a race or, just having fun. Like I make it fun. Like I listen to music. You find good songs. I have to switch up my playlist a lot because I listen to things so many times over and over again. But if I don't have, and I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine this morning, trying to get her motivated. I'm like, listen, everybody else is doing cardio too. All the other competitors are doing this too. You have to do it better. You have to push harder. You're tired, they're tired. You push harder. And I'm telling you, it is so much more fun when you're like taking every workout and every opportunity to do cardio as like part of the sport. You're competing with yourself and you're also, other people are doing it. Like right now, like you are suffering, they are suffering. So that's kind of my take on cardio. I don't mind it. I do a ton of it. like 2 hours a day, like
Oh my
toward like
god.
week. I was doing 2 hours a day. I thought I was gonna die that week, but I didn't.
Yeah, if you don't find a way to keep yourself entertained, those are the worst hours of your life, basically. So I gotta have, like I said, I have my music and everything in that effect too. But I mean, you also mentioned sleep too, and that is the most important thing in this lifestyle, or just in life in general. And anyone that disagrees with me on that, I always tell them pull an all nighter and then try to work out and tell me how that goes for you. But I mean, you're a mom, you have a job, you do all that stuff. What is your sleep like? Because I mean, like you said, you get up early in the morning, and for me to get up anytime before 8, it's either got to be for a job or my house has got to be on fire.
So I've made a really great sleep schedule, and I used to stay up late, and then try to manage getting up early, and then I just started going to bed earlier, making myself go to bed earlier, and it's so much easier to wake up early. I like waking up early. I like starting my day with cardio. I've gotten into this routine where that's just what I do. It messes me up if I stay up too late. Like I know if I stay up past 11, I'm definitely going to have a hard time getting up in the morning. And then it just affects my whole day. So, sleep is really important. If I can help it, like I try to get 8 hours.
As you can tell, I was up till 3 o'clock last night, and I got up literally an hour before we started recording this. So
Oh my God, that's so funny.
yeah, I
That's so funny.
yeah, because everyone like it's 1 p.m. her time when we started this, and it's noon or it's no, it's 2 p.m. her time when we started this. It's 1 p.m. when I started, and I got up literally at 12:08, and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably get ready for the. And there have been times too where like I hate to admit this, I have delayed 2 podcasts in my entire life that were scheduled at 2 o'clock my time because I was still asleep in the afternoon because I decided to. It was a weekend, stuff.
That's kind of awesome though.
That was 24-year-old Ryan when I was starting this podcast. This is
Right.
27-year-old Ryan who's he doesn't get up at 2, he gets up at noon. Okay, so just cut him slight. Who knows? Maybe 2 years from now, it'll be 10 o'clock. But I mean, this is a question that I just started asking people. It shows how great I really am at this podcast because it took me 500 some guests to really develop it. But even I think this, every guest I've had, why do they do this to themselves? Why do they put themselves through this? Why? I mean, after hearing all these prep brain stories, and even like you yourself was thinking about quitting, like a month before you got your pro card, like bodybuilders, they even think of that to themselves, like especially when they're in their, preps. Why am I still doing this to myself? Why do I do this lifestyle? But how would you like to answer that? Because I bet you still hear that, from just people every day, like, why do you put yourself through this when they're seeing you do your second round of cardio, like back to back?
Right.
What is your reasoning? You really think, in your mind of like why I do this lifestyle?
So what's your why? And, aside from the example that I want to set for my daughters, um, my why is, you know, I have been through some stuff, some struggles, some failures. And I feel like at a certain point, I looked at myself and was like, you're better than this. You're stronger than this. You are meant for something more. And I had to prove some stuff to myself. Like I had to prove to myself that first of all, that I'm better than, the worst version of myself, and also that I'm a strong person. So I had to prove to myself that I was strong. Um, and it's also the way that I deal with, life. So like it is like for me just full circle. Plus I'm very competitive. And so just having the opportunity to have a sport that I can do as a middle-aged woman is a blessing. I take it as such a gift, and I'm very happy with how far I've come, and I'm proud of myself. And I needed that. I needed to make um, make a big impact just to prove some stuff to myself. So that's my why.
Absolutely. And I mean, what advice do you have for other women that are in their 40s or, I talk to a lot of them too that like you're not the first one that got started in their 40s. I mean, I've had them that started even in like their 50s and 60s, but what piece of advice do you have for women, especially at that age? Because a lot of the times, like, yeah, I've talked to a lot of them where they just have that mindset of like, I'm too old. Like, I can't do this now. Like, I've just, it's not going to work out. But what piece of advice do you have for them just to get started?
So, not even just for bodybuilding, just in general. So what I would like for, women my age, first of all, mothers, know that just because you're a mom, you don't have to, give up your goals and dreams because you're a mom. You're still allowed to have your own goals and dreams. It's never too late to start living proof right here. I think for I was gonna kind of go somewhere else with that too, as far as everything else, including bodybuilding in life, anything that you want or goals, dreams, or whatever. If you work hard enough, you can achieve them. Um, and it could be running a 5K, going out and learning golf, or picking up a sport, getting back into shape, making some life changes. Just do it. Life's too short. And you have to find your happiness and you have to find your peace. And you just, if you haven't gotten it now, it's not too late to start, you know. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is never too late. And I mean, now we go to, the golden question. If someone were to walk up to you and say, Jessica, you could change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
hmm.
We saved the tough ones for the end here.
Yes. I think that I love this sport. I feel like now that I'm women's physique, I feel like women's physique gets like the short end of the stick a lot. And you don't see like the Arnold didn't have it this year. I think women's physique should be, you know, um, I hope that the sport will start appreciating the women's physique division more. And I'm not sure what else I would change. I really don't.
Well, for me, the prize money, obviously. I mean, like,
Oh,
oh yeah.
yeah,
See, that's one
that.
thing. That's one thing that like they've just repressed in their mind so much that when I mention it, they're like, oh yeah, that too. Yeah, like obviously, because like for me, my whole spiel since day one has been like, if you're a pro in this sport, you should not have to have a 9 to 5 job. Like, you should be financially supported enough where you can just live this as your lifestyle because like people don't
Exactly.
understand how much easier that would make that for the athletes. If like even if we're talking like just a base, like even like 30, 40,000 dollars, like it doesn't have to be like a lot, but just a
Right.
base where you can just like maybe and then like get sponsors and stuff. It's like yeah, because like being a pro in the sport, yeah, I mean it's even harder than the people that are just looking for the pro card. But once you get that, like there should be something where it's like, hey, we'll support you a little bit because like I talk to some of these guests that go through all these extremes when it comes to, just what they have to do just to get their workouts in a day. And it's like, it shouldn't have to be like that. Like in an ideal world where you've already proven yourself as a bodybuilder to get your pro card, like
Right.
that shouldn't have to be a case. And I'll die on that hill.
It would be really nice, for the sport to pay for itself. It is a very expensive sport, and, I think that having that extra help would actually make people better, at the sport, so I agree with that.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'd love to have you on a year from now just to give us an update on, what you've been up to. What are some goals that you'd like to have achieved, just in bodybuilding or just in your overall life? Where would you like to be at a year from today when we have you back on?
So, I'm gonna shoot for making my pro debut early next year. I mean, it would be great to win a pro show, but I understand once you get your pro card, now you're a small fish in a big pond again, and that's cool. But who knows? Like, I would like to, how about this? I would like to a year from now say, I just did the best I could and kicked some ass at this pro show and met a lot of really great people. Got some good pictures with some amazing athletes. I fangirl over all of these women. Everyone's so great, so nice, but I look forward to meeting a lot of them.
Who's the one that you fangirled over the most, do you think?
So it's I'm very biased to Samantha Jaring. She's one of my best friends, and I mean, she is phenomenal. I mean, I can't say enough incredible things about her. So yeah, Samantha Jaring.
I mean, yeah, like if I ever competed, I am taking at least a million photos over that like whatever month span or something like that, just so I can like publish them for the rest of my life. Because yeah, like it's I totally understand where it's like yeah, you gotta get all your photos and your photo shoots in, and I mean yeah, and again, everyone go and check out Jessica on her. I'll leave a link to her Instagram page down below. And is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
Hmm. Well, I guess I want to say hi to my friends at RVA Iron. I was supposed to be there training with them today, and I gave that up for you today, Ryan. So, hey guys.
This is why no matter what, I never cancel these because I was like, I could never live with myself if then I've had like if one person's like, I gave up my day at the gym and I was like, oh god, I can't deal with this now. So
Yeah.
there's that. But again, that is awesome. Shout out to them, everyone. It's always for every one of these people that competes, there's 10 people that work almost just as hard that don't compete. So there's always that in that community too. And before we wrap it up too, I mean like especially on the female side, I found to be like there's a real sisterhood in this community where like especially if you compete like everyone cares about each other. Everyone really wants to see the best. It's not the same on the guy's side, which it's just that's just the male brain and crap like that. But like, how important is it to you, like that whole sisterhood of like knowing that like whenever you step on that stage, like your fellow competitors have your back and they all really care about each other.
It is it's undescribable. The bodybuilding community, I've met some amazing women and made some really great friends, and feels like I have family, like it's just this little community that everybody has this mutual respect. And after a show you keep in touch and you like get to follow their lives, and it's just really amazing. But Ryan, I do need to do a shout out for my coach Sebastian Alvarez. That's just
I
wanted
was
to
just
get
about to
that.
say it then. I was like, you might regret not doing that one right there. So
Yeah,
that coach is like, oh,
sorry.
this woman right here. Let's see how she is without me. This
Yeah,
yeah. So no, yeah.
he's definitely very responsible for a lot of things great in my life. So
Absolutely. And again, you guys, like I said, go check her out. And Jessica, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your journey with us. I mean, it was an absolute delight talking to you, and I wish you nothing but the best. And I honestly think, yeah, you have a good career ahead of you in the sport, and I cannot wait to see where it takes you.
thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. This has been wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.